Hey there, everyone. This is Adrienne Lopez, the Integrative Awareness Coach. How are you doing today? I just wanted to stop in and share a couple of nuggets of wisdom with you. I don't know if you were able to stop by on Sunday and check out week 2 of my Creating Your Inner Temple guided meditation. And if you weren't able to, that's fine. Week 1 and week 2 are on my Facebook page, Mind Heart Space, as well as my YouTube channel that I just started. So if you haven't had a minute yet to go over there and check it out, please do. I really appreciate if you could like, share, and subscribe as I'm trying to get my new YouTube channel off and running. So I appreciate your support in advance. Today I wanted to talk to you just about the last week. I don't know about you, but the last, 4 or 5 days have been pretty intense for me personally. And I wanted to share some ideas about the themes coming up because I think they're important. So this whole idea that I've been developing in the Creating Your Inner Temple is based on some fundamental principles. Like, when we start declaring and reclaiming the space of our consciousness to receive the wholeness of who we are, our true self, this requires clearing the land, so to speak, of old mindsets, worn out beliefs that we have about who we are. The whole idea of, actually, to be honest, it's a whole shift in how we perceive reality. And I'm doing my podcast on that this week. It's based on the idea of the phrase or the quote, "Build it and they will come." And for those of you that may be familiar with the 1980s film Field of Dreams that starred Kevin Costner, he was a farmer, I think in Iowa or somewhere like that. And he heard some inner promptings or some whispering that started telling him, "Build it and it will come." And so he ends up creating a baseball diamond in the middle of his cornfield, and all of his neighbors think that he's a kook, and they're like, "What the heck?" But he follows his inner prompting, and when he does, he's really creating the place for his father to show up. And the symbolism of this story is like superficially a Hollywood film. It's like, oh, entertaining. But when you really dig it apart, and you really look at the metaphor of him building this playing field where all these famous ball players come, which was his connection to his father. And the idea that his father returns. Sorry, I'm feeling a little emotional. That his father returns to his consciousness or to the space that he created. And then this is so powerful as a metaphor, like becoming self-fathering, becoming a self-leader, to becoming self-authorized, housing your own father, becoming the boss of yourself. And the reason why I teared up is, which I wasn't expecting, was the idea that, my father's passed away now in 2011. But this metaphor is like deeply universal and biblical. It reminds me of Noah, who was told to build an ark or a vessel to ride the storm out, the flood that was going to be coming. And everyone thought he was nuts, like, what the heck are you doing? But he listened to his inner promptings and he built his ark. And it was the thing that saved all of the animals and all the people that were able to have the wisdom to get on the ark. And so in this case, the ark is our vessel, and the animals are like our basic nature instinct. And we follow the inner promptings of the Father within us, which is our highest consciousness. And when we do, miracles happen. And so this is not a regular level of conversation that most people have. And if you're here, it's because you're longing for something more substantial. You're longing to make sense out of the craziness that continues to unfold out there in the world, and are really craving and longing for, real answers and solutions to what's going on. And instead of aligning with fear or hate or injustice, you are aligning yourself with love and compassion and inclusiveness and unity and peace, because part of you already knows that that's what's going to make the transition for this planet. That's what's going to allow us to make the jump to a new expression, a new part of our human evolution. And so that's really what I'm being called to do. And in my life, I've been called to come here and share my insights and my gifts for you that I have, unbeknownst to me, preparing all this time, my entire life, in order to show up and serve in this way. And so it's, quite an honor and a gift to be here, to be able to connect. And that's why I created this mind-heart space, because it's a metaphor for the space of my consciousness. And through my experience, what I've really realized is there is no out there. I mean, physically, yes, we can see things. It's not that it's not real, but it's really reflecting our own relationship with ourselves. And so one of the big programs running, or energy tracks or timelines that's been unfolding on this planet for 2,000 years or more, is the victim-perpetrator cycle. And this is continually unfolding, and it's happening so rapidly at such a fast pace right now. You can see that it's cracking. And that's really what I wanted to talk to you about today, and why I came on, is looking at these cycles of victim-perpetrator. So we see, for example, there are people of, suffering as victims of, police brutality and unfair racial profiling, being treated differently because of someone's skin color. And there's example after example after example of this. And then that is turned, and the victim becomes blamed for their role in what unfolded because of their behavior, because of their past persona of who they were, so it's justified. And then there's looting that occurs as a response to the injustice, so the victims become the perpetrators. Because this is the model that is so disempowering for both sides of this opposition of victim perpetrator. In order for the victim to have any power, they have to become the perpetrator and fulfill the role in which they were originally opposing. And so it's a level of craziness that doesn't make sense. And so I invite you to take a look around in your life to see, your relationships where there's perpetrator victim unfolding. So, for example, there may be somebody in your life displaying abusive behavior, mostly because internally they were not taught how to deal with their own emotions. They were not taught how to create healthy boundaries. They have used blame, shame, and guilt in order to manipulate other people's energy. And then, or maybe that's what you do, right? You're the perpetrator, and everyone around you ends up being a victim until you meet another perpetrator who out-perpetrates you, and then you become the victim. And then, so let's just say that you're the victim in this case, right? And you have this perpetrator who is like a tyrant and can't receive the word no, because if you tell them no, they get their feelings hurt and they get so upset, and then you have to pay the price for trying to set a boundary, right? And these are also, levels of behavior that unfold in codependent relationships. Inability to own one's emotion, to take responsibility for it without projecting it out there. And then perhaps say one day the victim snaps because they've had enough, right? And then they become the perpetrator. Perhaps they have an emotional outburst or tirade because anger is a sign that something's wrong. Like you need to back off. You need to get the heck out of my space, for example. And then, this is also what they call, what do they call that when someone is, when the perpetrator becomes the victim, and then they say, gaslighting, yeah, right? You're being abusive to me. And the weight of that, the toxicity of that, the irony of that a person who is trying to protect their own boundaries and say, I've had enough, you can't act this way anymore to me, I won't tolerate it. And then that person gets put in the perpetrator role, where they end up being classified as the abuser or the perpetrator. And so it goes. So this is a level of toxicity and insanity that is an unconscious unfolding of a model of power that has kept people divided, that has kept people on a timeline of duality instead of unity and connection and shared needs and resources. And it's run its course, like that model's not going to take us to the level of evolution that we need on this planet if we are going to evolve in our government practices, in our political interactions, and really the way that we attend to ourselves. Like, how do we perpetrate and victimize ourselves? By the way that we talk to ourselves, by the way that we treat ourselves. And so this week, really, my question and affirmation, because whenever I have a question, that I ask, out of curiosity, like, what does it mean to attend to myself responsibly? Enough about everyone else out there, right? I need to attend to this mess first, right? And then once I do, my shift in my energy vibrationally speaks volumes to whatever I could say with my mouth out loud. Just the being of who I am speaks volumes and does the talking for me. So how do I attend to myself? And then I turned that into an affirmation, which is I am attending and loving and supporting myself responsibly. And I'm taking that father energy that has been so long projected out in the world, like some leader or father figure is going to come and attend to me, which that may happen, but the thing is it won't happen until I've done it internally, and then the outside world can mirror it back to me. That's why, well, this is just my opinion, but this is why we're having the failure of leadership that we're having. And it's bound to happen because life is trying to help us make the transition to self-authorized leadership of the self. And from there, we can somehow hope to have, a level of freedom because we've started to take responsibility, the ability to respond to our own experience, attend to our own needs, and, step out of toxic patterns of perpetrator and victim and start aligning with the truth of our highest self, which is that we are love, we are unified, we are peace, we are compassion, we are wholeness, we are healing. So I just wanted to share that with you. I hope that it gives you some sort of relief or insights or peace in your heart today and your mind. And love to hear back from you. I'm working on this week's podcast, which is, I think I'm going to call it Build It and They Will Come. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in depth, what it means to build your vessel or your temple or your ark, whatever metaphor you want to call, and how that contributes to the entirety of the consciousness on this planet, right? Because it's not really just about you, right? It's about what you do, how you act, how you hold your energy. That actually will be the real change in the world. Just like Mahatma Gandhi is famously quoted, "Be the change you wish to see in the world." And that change starts within, and then it ripples out into the world. All right, that's all I wanted to share with you. Thank you so much for joining me. Namaste. In the meantime, please remember what a valuable treasure you are. Bye for now.